Non-judicial, I'm going to give you the whole slide. Now, you guys can do this a number of ways. If you are an avid writer and you have expert penmanship, and you can write all of that on the slide in the next 60 seconds or less, do that. If you are like me, you're going to take out your cell phone and you're just going to take a picture of the slide, which I also am fine with you doing. Or if you are a tech wizard, you could simply just do a print screen and then you could just copy the slide onto a Word doc or something and you can consume it later. Either way, however you do it, I just need you guys to have the information, all right? In a non-judicial foreclosure, the notice of default, that's the beginning document, puts the owner on notice that they have 90 days, okay? Now in this 90-day period of time, this is what we call a redemption period. The homeowner can literally bring the amount that they are in arrears to the lender, and the lender has to accept them as payment in full and reinstate the loan and continue to receive monthly payments. Foreclosure ends, nothing more happens. If the homeowner is unsuccessful in bringing the loan current within that first 90-day period of time, they then go into what's called the notice of trustee sale period, where the sale will be posted. Now, for those of you who still take a newspaper, and for those of you, under the age of 40, a newspaper is this large piece of paper with newsprint on it that your parents had dropped on their door and they would read it at the kitchen table, okay? Most 40 and under now get all of their news and you see them doing this. However you consume the news, what you guys are looking for is the legal notices. And you should read these. Now, when I go to a fast food joint and grab lunch or something, it's the penny saver or it's the nickel nick. Guys, so many attorneys will run legal notices in those publications, and what they're publishing is this notice of trustee sale. They are required by law to publish it in a circulated publication in the county where the property is located. And to save costs, they'll run it in one of these low cost discount newspapers. Rarely are you going to see these in your larger newspaper like the Chicago Sun-Times or the Wall. You'll never see in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today. Those are national publications. These need to be local and circulated in the county where the property is located. Okay. Now during this 20 days, if the homeowner brings in the $8,000 that they are in arrears, the bank can reject it. And the bank can say, yeah, no, we're not going to reinstate your loan. We're taking you to auction. If that happens on the day of auction, the only thing the homeowner can do to avoid losing the house completely is either A, sell it pre-foreclosure to an investor like you or me, or they can file bankruptcy. If they file bankruptcy, it'll stop the auction immediately, and they'll have about 6 months to work through the bankruptcy process, all the while not making a payment. Now, this is why you guys understanding this process is so incredibly important, not just for you, but to your neighbor or the person across the street who might find themselves in this situation. Because if their house actually sells at auction to a third-party bidder like me, and that third-party bidder pays 65, 70 cents on the dollar, guess what your house is now worth? Less, okay? Because the most recent sales comps represent the most recent valuation of the property. So if this thing goes to sale, your house is worth less, as are all of the homes in this neighborhood. So if we can do something before auction, it's better for all parties involved, including the homeowner, okay? Now, assuming they don't file bankruptcy, because most homeowners, when they get into this situation of default, they will bury their head in the sand. They will stop answering the phone. They will stop responding to mail. Even if you knock on their door, they're unlikely to answer it because they are running from their creditors and they don't know that you're trying to help them. So they bury their head in the sand. Even though we have knowledge and options to help them, they don't respond and they end up losing the house to sale. Now, if they are successful in postponing it through a bankruptcy filing, that'll buy them 6 months. That's great. If it sells to a bank, the bank will usually take 90 to 180 days to evict them, and get the property turned and listed with a local real estate agent as what's called an REO, or real estate owned. Now, interesting factoid that you guys should write down somewhere and be aware of. Banks cannot legally sell real estate to an individual in the absence of agency. Banks cannot sell their own inventory. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen, different promotions on Facebook. Buy REO properties directly from banks. No, you can't do that. If it's an FDIC insured lender, they cannot sell real estate to the general public. They have to list it with a local realtor. So calling a bank and saying, hey, I'd like to look at your REO inventory, there is not a bigger waste of time on the planet than that, other than playing video games. Also a tremendous waste of time. Although, are you aware of this, Peter, now? You can get a degree as a video game expert, and you can get paid to play video games.
Some of them make it bank.
Yeah, like hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars a year playing video games. So I can no longer say that playing video games is a waste of time. But also, I'm dating myself here, know that when video games came out, it was Pong. You move the thing up and down, and that's pretty much it. And I'm pretty sure nobody was paying you to play that. So this week, we have Vacation Bible School at my church. And so I'm a group leader. So I've got 6 kids, and I've got to move them through stations throughout the day. So all this week, you guys can pray for me. 4.5 hours every morning, I am with 8, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. So this one girl, she comes in today, and I start asking her, I said, so what kind of game? I said, so what do you like to do, when you're not, what are you doing all summer long? And she says, well, I like to play video games. Here's what I said to her. I said, really? Have you ever played the Oregon Trail? She looked at me like I was the oldest man on the planet. What is the Oregon Trail? Because I was in elementary school when the first Apple computer came out, and we played Oregon Trail with the floppy disk. The floppy disk. Remember that thing? And I've completely alienated my millennial audience. I apologize. I'll get back to business. But yeah, contacting banks to find REO inventory, don't even waste your time. You've got to get it through a real estate agent. Now, for those of you who are real estate agents and you're thinking, hey, that's an opportunity. I could contact the lenders directly, and then I could become the listing agent on the bank's inventory. Please don't waste your time doing that either, because banks now are only offering 0.5% to 1% to represent banks' REO listings. And they want you to play realtor and contractor. So if you are the agent representing the lender, you will be responsible to work with attorneys to evict the occupant, to work with local contractors to eliminate all of the items inside of the home and prepare that property for sale. And you're going to do all of that work for 1%? It's not worth it, okay? A better strategy is to create auto hot sheets within your MLS so that when crazy realtors that represent banks for REO listings actually list the home for sale, you will be notified, and you can immediately write the offer and get paid 3% as the buyer's agent representing yourself on the purchase of the asset. That's a much smarter, better way to go, okay? Now, if it sells to the bank, it will have to sell through an agent. If it is sold third party, which means a credit bidder, somebody like you or me, right? We come in and we outbid the bank. So if the bank sets the bidding at $300,000, then anything over 300 grand now becomes a third party bidder. So you only have to outbid the bank by $1. Now, a little later this evening, I'm going to share with you guys a deal we just bought on Friday. It's a $450,000 house. We bid $1 over opening bid, and opening bid was $25,000. I wrote this down. The opening bid was $25,185.86, and we got it for $25,186.86. Literally $1 over opening bid, and there were 4 other bidders there, and none of them bid. Why? I'm going to tell you that story here in just a few minutes, okay? If it sells to a third-party bidder, we get what's called a trustee's deed. Please write that term down, a trustee's deed. If you're looking at a title report, it'll show up as a TRD, a trustee's deed. And this is important for those of you that have send views. So when you're looking at your debt stacks, you want to be able to identify a trustee's deed because that is a foreclosure auction sale. And from that sale date, you have what's called baptism of title. So anytime you see a trustee's deed, title is clear from that date forward. So we can save a lot of money on title fees if we know how to read these documents, okay? So if it sells to the bank or sells to a third party, it goes to trustee's deed, or the sale could be canceled. Now this is my favorite outcome, okay? Here's how a sale gets canceled. The homeowner comes up with the cash to pay off the lender. Now, where do you suppose the homeowner got the cash to pay off the lender? From people like you and me, by going out and talking with these homeowners months before the sale occurs and negotiating with them on a price that makes sense to get them out from under the obligation of that mortgage or that asset or that debt and get them cash so they can move, relocate, do whatever they need to do, and the sale gets canceled. Now, why is this my favorite? Well, because a cancellation at an auction has to be cried publicly. So they can't just send an email and say, sorry, investors, the sale's been canceled. So you find this really juicy deal, right? It's a $450,000 house and the opening bid is 200 grand, 50 cents on the dollar. And so 50 investors all show up with cashier's checks ready to bid, and the crier steps up in front of the crowd and says, the property located at XYZ Street has been canceled. And they all go, ah. Because they thought they were coming to auction that day to buy a $450,000 house for 200 grand. They took the day off from work. They went to the bank. They got cashier's checks. They were all there waiting with bated breath to bid, and the sale got canceled. Why? Because I contacted the homeowner months ago, purchased the property directly from them, gave them cash, gave them options, gave them the opportunity to move out or to stay if they wanted to, and made their life so much better. But all of these third-party pariahs didn't get to bid, and that makes them unhappy. But it makes me smile. And me happy is better than them happy.